In the previous lecture, we added and subtracted decimals. Today, we're going to go one step further and multiply and divide them. And it's a little bit different than add and subtract. It's not as simple as line up the decimal points, but I want to try to provide a little bit of explanation of why we do what we do when we multiply and divide decimals. So let's start with multiplication. Let's say I want to multiply 1/10 times 1/100th. And to do this, I know we haven't really reviewed fractions yet, but you should know how to multiply and divide fractions at this level right before you go into Algebra 1. So I'm going to transfer both of these to a fraction so we can kind of see what we're doing when we multiply decimals. So 1/10 as a fraction is this, and we're going to multiply that by 1/100th. And if you remember, when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across the numerator and denominator. 1 times 1 is 1, and 10 times 100 is 1,000th. Okay, so things to note here is that there's 1 0 and 2 zeros there, and the result is 3 zeros. And if we take 1,000th and convert it back to a decimal, we get this. This is 1,000th. Now, what I want you to see here when we multiply these is that there's one place after the decimal point here. There's one place after the decimal point there. So there's 1, 2, 3 total. So there's 1, 2, 3 in the answer. So let's look at a different example. Let's do 2/10 times 3/100. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the two numbers. 2 times 3 is 6, and then we're going to put a total of 1, 2 places, or what we're doing is we're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the left. 1, 2, and we get 6/100. And we could write this as 2/10 times 3/10, and see that as we multiply across, that's 6/100. Let's look at an example a little bit harder. How about 3.1 times 0.04? Okay, so 3 and 1/10 times 4/100, and I'm just going to write this like that, vertically. So we're just going to multiply the numbers first without paying attention anywhere to the decimal point. So 1 times 4 is 4, and 3 times 4 is 12. So when there's 1, 2, 3 places after the decimal point, so we're going to move it 1, 2, 3 places and put a decimal. So 3 and 1/10 times 4/100 is 124,000ths. Okay. So let's write this. I don't even know how to write the steps on this. Let's see. Multiply the numbers. The first step is to multiply the whole number portions of the number. So we did that step. We multiplied 31 times 4 and got 124. The second step is to count the places, or the total places, to the right of the decimal point. In each factor. Remember, a factor is something that's multiplied. So we count the total places to the right of the decimal point in each factor. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then the third step is just to move the decimal point that many places to the left in your product. So we counted 1, 2, 3, and we move the decimal point. Remember, the decimal point in whole numbers is always going to be to the right. 1, 2, 3, and we put a 0 in front of there. Okay, so that's multiply. How about division? Now, dividing decimals is a little bit easier, believe it or not. And I can demonstrate this without too much fraction work. Let's just start with 4 divided by 8.4. Okay, so if we're going to divide this, and we move the decimal point straight up and just multiply it, divide it like they were whole numbers. So 4 goes into 8 twice, and 2 times 4 is 8, and then we bring down the 4, and 4 goes into 4 once, and 2.1 is the solution here. So the quotient of 8.4 divided by 4 is 2.1. Okay, let's check that with our, we just learned how to multiply decimals. So we should get 8.4, and when we do that, 21 times 4 is 84. And there's one place after the decimal, so we move that to the left once. We move this to the left once, and we get 8.4. Okay, so what happens if there's a decimal here? Now, let's just say we had 0.4 divided by 8.4. Okay. Now, the kicker here is you're going to have to change this fraction, and I'm going to do it over here. This is a fraction, actually. You can write it like 8.4 divided by 0.4. What we want to do is move this decimal point here. And to do that, we just multiply by 10. But if we want to do that to the denominator, we have to do it to the numerator too. Okay, so what this is multiplying by 1. What this does is it makes it 84 divided by 4. Okay, and watch. So we move this one place, so it's a whole number, and we move this the same exact number of places. Okay, so the step here would be to move the decimal point as far as to the right that you can go, and then count the number of places that you moved it. In this case, we moved it 1, and do the same to the dividend here. Now, what this does is this is multiplying it by 10, and this is multiplying it by 10. So the answer here is 21. All right, let's look at another example. We got some good ones here. Let's say we'll divide this, and then we'll check it. We'll check our work, and this one's going to be a special one because it's going to come up. Oh, no, it's not. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought this was going to be a special case, but we'll worry about that in the future. Okay, so we got 26 hundredths dividing into 1 and 404 thousandths. Okay, so let's see here. A good estimate, 25 times 5 is 125, so I'm going to guess this at 5. And we'll go ahead and divide everything first, and then we'll find where the decimal point goes. We multiply here, and we get 130, I think. No, yeah, 130. And this divides into 104, and 26 into 104 is 4. And that goes in even. Okay, so where does the decimal point go? Well, we move this twice this way, and then we move this twice this way, and the decimal point goes straight up. Okay, you can move the decimal point before or after you divide, whatever you're more comfortable with. So the answer here is 5 4/10. So let's multiply this back. 26 and 54. Now, I'm going to kind of cheat here because I already know what these two numbers are multiplied together because I just divided it. 1404. Well, let's check our procedure. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's where we started here. Okay, good thing about multiply and divide is you can always go back and forth and check your work. Okay, so this has been the 6th lecture. The 7th lecture is going to be prime and composite numbers. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then.